Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are in the world. This is Howie, and I'm here to help you win with money. Today is Saturday, February 20, 2021. This is the end of week number 7. The big news for this week in stock markets is Bitcoin. Bitcoin current value. Let me hit the refresh so you can see this. Bitcoin is holding up its value on Saturday. It is at 27,000. Ether crossed 2,000. So this is good for the whole market. There's a lot of people looking at the next barrier, which is like a $60,000 mark. And I logged into Coinbase, which is really not the best place if you want to trade. I'm not a trader, so I don't really care. But I want to show you this. A 24-hour chart showed that Bitcoin was at $24,000 and it rode all the way up. And you see that it's near the peak, which is 57,000. If you look at the week, this is a big move for 5 days. 46,000 all the way up to 57,000. If you look at the 1 month chart, some people still won't believe this. Down at $28,000 in a month. 1 year chart, right here, 5,000. You can tenfold your money in a year. Am I suggesting that you do crazy risks? Absolutely not. This is something that you just need to make sure you're just putting in a little bit each month, even if you dollar cost average. You can see that it was boring and no one was talking about it down here until right around here it started moving, and people got really excited once it crossed 19,000 because it basically broke through the old time high from 2017. So let's show you what's going on in the news. So you saw this. Bloomberg page is showing Bitcoin is here. Elon Musk is saying the prices seem high. Maybe he's saying that so he can go and invest in some Bitcoin. Who knows? Elon Musk has a tendency to say one thing on Twitter and say buy Dogecoin, and then Tesla goes and buy Bitcoin. On thestreet.com, there is a really interesting article here. For those of you who follow ETFs, the most popular one is the GBTC, but there is a new Bitcoin trust fund over here. Here's the ticker. And people ask, well, why should we care? Because it's competing against this one, which has a higher management fee. And you'll see that here. GBTC charges 2% annual fee. And a lot of times you don't realize it, but you're paying the fee every day as they recalculate the NAV, which is how mutual funds or ETFs are calculated. So this fee is obviously much cheaper, 75% cheaper. And this article goes on to say most institutions may start moving some of their money because it's like the vanguard of ETFs. Eventually, people say, well, if I'm holding this for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, 2% fee adds up. You multiply 2 times 10 years, that's a 20% fee. Even if you make 5 extra money, right, 500%, you subtract the 20% off of it, you make 480. If you use this competing product, hold the same thing, right, for 10 years, it's the same concept. It's 75% cheaper. Instead of paying 20% in fees, you pay 5% in fees. You get to keep 495% of the gains versus 480. So you can read that. They go on and explain the premiums and all that other good stuff. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I don't know how actively traded this is. So other people who trade in and out, or you're swing trading, you want to look at liquidity. You want to look at, is the bid ask narrow enough for you to go in and out. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. Okay, on to ETrade transaction log. The first thing I want to do is look at the last transaction and see what I need to paste in. You can see the 12. I don't normally get any dividends on the 13 and 14, so I'm going to look at transactions for the 15 and start pasting it in. And I thought there isn't any transaction for the 15 because it was a holiday. So here's the first one. I'm going to copy the transaction from 17 now. Paste that. I got more from the 17, paste that. Now let's grab the 18. Paste the 18. I got more from the 18. Paste that. Copy the data from the 19. Paste that. And these are the final ones from the 19. Now I notice there are some to clean ups, but the first thing I always do is, let's just massage this real quick. And you guys see how I do this every month or every week. So I'm just gonna fix some of these things. Next thing I'm gonna do is fix the dividends. So you see I set this up, fixed this, added this new thing, no trade count here. So that's good. Let's move on to the next issue. I fix all the fields. This is a field that I use. I use formulas in this field to extract data from there. This I use to keep track of what type of trades I'm doing. And same thing with this. This way you can pivot. The dates are important because I use the dates for pivoting by month or by days. So they're important. And I started adding this now, so it's a little bit easier. So you can filter based on the notes. So I've been adding notes now, so it's like week 7, week 6. So that's a new thing that I just started doing. And then I keep track of the trade number. And I use this rule again if I'm doing a pattern day trade or one trade. So this counts as one giant trade, even though I did it multiple times for 2 different, right? Most people count that as 3 different trades because I pay commissions 3 different times. But I'm going to count it as a single trade. So again, there's no easy way to do it. You just have to do it consistently. When I row, I count a row as a single trade. When you close and open, that's a single trade. However, iron condors, if you open an iron condor, that's a single trade. And if you're closing an iron condor, that's a single trade. So now that I saved this, let's scroll up. Let's do the pivot. We always go up here. We go to this screen here. We're going to pivot. Now we're going to get 1 week of data. And the first thing I need to do is just double check everything to make sure everything looks good. So this week was a small and consistent week. There's no up and down. And you can see that here. It's pretty consistent. I'm going to move over here. Hit the refresh button over here. Grab this number, paste it here. And I want to make sure there's no other errors here. I think everything looks good to me. I'm going to take this number. I do have a holdings tab that a lot of people don't notice, but that is really awesome. You see this Riot here? It tells you what's working. This tells you what's not working. My squares are not working. You know, UA is not working. You can see how some of these are negative. They're not working, but this is working. The Riot trades are working. My SPYs are working now. You see that? I got burnt here, but remember, these are quarterly numbers. So let's go back here. I'm going to show you something real quick. We'll paste in the number over here. I actually copied the wrong one. I need to copy this number here. Copy that one because I need the year to date. So the year to date is Q1. So right now it's easy. Later I need the year to date. You paste that in here. And let me fix this real quick. And I fix all the trade numbers. This is my P&L for the year. This is the number of trades per week. So this week was a little bit lighter than the other weeks. And you can see the sort of what it looked like. This is not a running, it is a running, well, it's not a running total. It's a snapshot of what it looked like on that point in time in that week. So for this week, this is a snapshot of what it is, a point in time as of today. The averages are a little bit up now. I was really surprised. I really do think it's all because of the Riot trades, and I'll speak to that real quickly. Riot trades have been so well. I'm making 8%, 9%, 15% a week. Last week was the same thing. The Riot trades really did really well. If you do a quick look, I put a filter on the ticker. You can see my trades for Riot for this week, week number 7. You can see it. I had cash secure puts at $41 and I moved it up to 48. And because Bitcoin moved up sharply this week, Riot also moved roughly in the same, obviously moved in the same direction. What was surprising is, and you can see this, I moved up from a 41 to a 48, then to a 58, then to a 64. What was surprising is Bitcoin actually did not drop between Thursday and Friday. It actually went up, but Riot shares touched like 77 or whatever it was, 78, and it started dropping down and it closed at like $71. So I was hoping that this one would expire worthless, but it did not. So it cost me $355 to roll. And some people say, well, rolling is bad, you lose money. Well, if you look at the net difference, this is the value I collected. Now, this one was great. This one was a $60 put well, it was a $64 put. This was going to expire worthless, and I paid $10 to close. But this put, actually, I received $400 for it, if you see this. So sometimes it's not that rolling is bad. You got to understand what it's doing. I was playing this, and if you watch my previous video, I had to select which price I think Bitcoin was or Riot was going to end on Friday. And obviously I missed it by $2, and I thought I gave myself enough cushion for a slight pullback. Bitcoin didn't pull back, but the shares, I guess, were ahead of itself, and the shares pulled back, and it closed at 71. So now next week I have a $64 cash secure put and a 63. Will that be safe enough? I believe it should be, because if you look at the day trading range, it was a $77, even though Bitcoin was at, let's say, $54,000. So I don't remember exactly where it was yesterday, but I think it was like a $54,000. Then it settled back under a little bit, and then I think I told you today it's at 57. So the market has moved up since closing of Friday. So I do expect Riot blockchain. Now, we still have Sunday night, and then Monday morning. So I don't know where blockchain will be at. It could be at $50,000 come Monday, or it could be at $60,000. So one of the things I was trying to do was create enough room for downside risk if blockchain should fall over the weekend. That was the logic and the reasoning behind why I use a $60 cash secure put and a $63 cash secure put, which is what you see here and here. So these two combinations go together. This was a row, and this was a row. So you see what I'm doing? I'm using a put because put gives me some flexibility. If this share drops $20 or $30 on Monday, I have some flexibility not to eat up all the loss. I can just roll the option. If you hold the underlying, much harder to get out of a position like that without losing money. But using pure options, there are ways for me to reduce some loss, even though I'm trying to make money on the upside. I'm going to show you how much money I made using Riot. We'll use the subtotal. This is also like an Excel class. If you guys follow what I do, you can learn a lot about how to use formulas to do a little bit of everything. We'll go all the way up. There you go. So what this is telling you is it's not going to count all the other filter rows. It's just going to count what I made in. And if you really want to know, sometimes you can change these things to do something like, let's just do from row 200 or something like that. And I'll show you why. So I made $4,000 in Riot without ever owning the shares. I put up cash, and this is what I make. Now, I did a video showing how much money I made. So I made about 8%, but I actually think I made more this week. If you just do this, 1,400, if you do 1,400 divided by, and you have to pick a number. If I was to pick 14,000, this is your rate of return. But you notice that in the beginning of the week, I actually only leveraged 4,800 per contract, then 10,000 here. This one was 12,000. So you can pick whatever number you think I should use. I don't really care. You can use a weighted average. But that's my rate of return on my cash for the week. So you can't complain about that. Nowhere, most people are happy just to make 11% a year on their cash. What I'm trying to say is I made 11%, and I'm trying to reduce some of the downside risk and get out of the trade if I need to, should things turn around real quick. Now that you see Riot, one thing I want to show you is why do I use this subtotal here, and I'm going to show you that real quick, why I use a subtotal. So if you change this to a different ticker, Let's use something like EA. You guys are familiar with Electronic Arts. Here you go. And what it's saying is, remember, this tracks only my options trading. And in EA, I don't do a lot of crazy stuff with EA. With EA, I mostly do cover calls. And you can see that these are the ones that I have trade activities for EA for this share. So I made $2,000 since beginning of time, but for this share, I didn't make a lot. $141 for this share. So you can do something like this: $141 divided by, well, EA is now $150, and 100 shares is 15 grand. So you can see how this only returns 1% so far. Now, a cover call is saying, well, I want to own EA, and I am a big fan of video games. I'm a big fan of esports, and I do think there are many more years or decades of growth, and EA just introduced a dividend. But my cover call strategy, just from this year, remember this, I'm looking at this year only, you can see how it made me 1%. So if I use this trend, I may finish the year with 2, maybe 3% extra using cover calls on EA. So that's the whole strategy, is I'm using it as a dividend booster to make a little bit more money. Not every share or not every trade is a high risk trade. I'm not always trying to make 20, 30, or 40% a week or whatever it may be. Some of these are really boring strategies where it acts like a dividend. It boosts whatever dividend you already have, and you're collecting some extra premium. And that's all I'm doing. Nothing fancy, but my goal is these trades all add up, and at the end of the year, you can be up more than you think. And I'll give you another example. I put a filter on Rocket. Again, you see all Rockets are puts, and according to this, cash secure puts. Rocket, since I got in, you see that, has been fairly low. When I got in, it was a little bit near the $20 mark. You can see that. And remember, everything with a color means it starts from 2021. If you just do this and scroll down, it will show you how much I collected. For this year, I collected $803 in Rocket. If you do the math, if Rocket shares are trading roughly $21, $22 per share, you see some weeks it went a little bit up, so I moved it. It's downtrending right now. Rocket is near, I'll show you real quick. Rocket today is now, here you go. So you can see it was near $20 even this week. And I'll hit the 5-day. You see that? It went under $20, but it was it's been under $21 this whole week. I just updated the formula. I'm assuming the contracts were cash secure puts using a $22 strike price. I have free Rocket contracts in effect. So now this is not per week. This number is for the whole year. So if you see this number, I'm not doing it for the week. This is my running total since the beginning, since January and February. But if you do the math, no matter how you look at this, $800 putting up $6,000 in cash made me 12%. Okay? I think you get that. So if I follow this trend, and again, I don't know what's going to happen. If Rocket shoots up to 40 or 50 bucks, obviously it changes the number. If Rocket stays flat, you can see how I can keep this trend going. And if it stays roughly the same and the premium don't really change too much, you multiply that by 6, and you can see how I can make roughly 50 or 60% return just using cash. And my return will be significant. As I bring this video to an end, please let me know what you're doing, how you're doing this share. I know some people had a good week last week. Some people did not. Let me know. Comment below. Give me a thumbs up. Like the video. If you're on Facebook, you can also follow one of the investing groups that I'm in. Investing 102 is where we level up. Come join me. As always, I'm hoping that you had a great trading week. Let's do this together. Let's do this $1 at a time. As always, have a profitable day. Bye-bye.